Hi guys, I'm Jo Southgate, also known as Super Jo Southgate, and also right now, Red Nose Girl. Anyway, thank you for joining me at my channel for my second Pilates workout. Today I'm hoping to go through a very complex move with you called double leg kick, and I'll explain what that's good for as we come to it. So while I'm explaining that very complex move, anybody that's tight in hamstrings, I want you to be stretching those hamstrings right now. And I'll show you why. If you can sit upright like this, no discomfort at all, your hamstrings are absolutely fine. But if, like me, your knees are bending quite a bit in order for you to obtain that position, or if you're like this and you just can't sit up tall, it's most likely to be to do with your hamstrings. The hamstrings connect to the pelvis, and then they also connect to the back of the calf area here. So they cross over those two joints, and when they're tight, they pull those two joints closer together. So in order to get them more flexible, we need to pull them further apart. But already with you sitting like this and trying to sit upright, although that's stretching your hamstring, you're going to feel that it's not doing much good for your back at all. So let's show you two other different ways of stretching your hamstrings. One of them is to find something that's the right height for you. So a chair could be too high actually. It's good for me, and you can see it's good for me, because as I put my heel on, you can see that this area of my back is able to get a neutral spine. My supporting knee is a little bit soft, and my foot is facing forward. I'm going to relax that ankle. The more relaxed I make the leg that is stretching, the more likely it is to stretch. I could also take something that's not so high if I'm not so flexible. So here, as I'm stretching, my spine needs to be neutral. If it's like this, I know that that chair's too high for that particular stretch. So that's one hamstring stretch. It's not my favourite, but it's the one that you're most likely to do because it's easy to do it anytime you want to. My favourite hamstring stretch, and what I like about it, is it deals with both legs at the same time, is finding a wall, bringing your bottom very close to that wall, and then having both legs resting upon it. Have a gap between your pelvis and the wall. Make sure that the back of the pelvis is flat against the floor. If the legs aren't trembling, if you feel that there's no stretch at all, what you can do is take your legs away from the wall, you might need to bend them, and then you wriggle your bottom inwards. I wish I hadn't put those lights there. Yeah. And then just stay there and enjoy that stretch. If your chin's poking out and you're unable to tuck it in, you're going to need something underneath your head. Perhaps your head is in a good position, but perhaps your ribs are flaring from the floor. That's bad news. If you can't comfortably get those down, then again you're going to need a cushion underneath your head just to elevate it a little bit. And relax, enjoy the stretch. If you turn your hands around this way, that'll soften and stretch around the fronts of the shoulders too. Folks, if you're not tight in your hamstrings, don't stretch them, because you'll make yourself hyper-flexible. And we do need a certain amount of tightness to our hamstrings so that they help to hold the pelvis in an upright position. Every muscle has its optimum strength and its optimum flexibility. One more note on the hamstrings. If you're sitting tall and you feel discomfort here, that'll be because your hip flexors are trying to draw you upwards and battle against the hamstrings. So you might look really, really comfortable in this position, but if you're feeling discomfort around this area or in your lower back, you still need to do a little bit of a stretch in your hamstrings. And definitely I'm in that category today. because this is my first Pilates class today, you know. So I'm going to use a wedge when I'm sitting, and towards the end of the class, hopefully I'll be more flexible. If you're not doing hamstring stretch, I want you to do pelvic floors. And by now you would have seen the Principles of Pilates video that I produced, and you'll know how to do your pelvic floor muscles, and you'll know all about neutral spine, core muscles and lateral breathing. Folks, while you're either stretching your hamstrings or having a little go of pelvic floor exercises, I'm going to show you an exercise called double leg kick. And I think this is the most fantastic exercise. It really is amazing. It deals with so many areas in the body that really need correcting. So whether you're working at a desk a lot, and that's creating a bit of a curvature to your spine, or you're reading your book, or you've got kids, or you're talking to the dog, into your knitting, most of us will curve forward at some stage. We're much more likely to do that than we are go the other way. And that's why double leg kick is one of the reasons why it's so amazing, because we're going to take your upper body from this position and turn it slightly into that one, in the hope that when it relaxes, it will relax in neutral spine as opposed to here. Double leg kick. I'm going down and I'm bringing the backs of the hands up my back and dropping my elbows down. Take your legs wide and hook your tailbone between your legs so that your hip bones lift off of the floor and your pubic bone pushes down into the mat. If I let that go again, can you see how my lower back is a little bit curvy? And as I push my pubic bone into the floor and I tip my pelvis in that direction, the curvature from my lower back starts to disappear. And most of us are a bit too curvy in this direction. Not everyone, but most of us are. So tip this way. Slide your hands down over your bottom, turn your hands round, and your little fingers are going to touch your thighs. The palms of your hands are facing the floor, but they're elevated a little bit from the floor. Turn your head round, extend through the crown of the head, and if I just sweep my hair back, can you see how my nose is slightly up from the floor? My chin's tucked in, my neck's long. I'm here, folks. I'm not here. This is bad. This is going to create too much curvature and stress in the lower back. I want you down more. And this bottom rib, I want you to try and lift it from the floor. So very often the skin will touch the floor, but the bones themselves around the lower rib cage, those lowest ribs should be up. Pull the shoulders back away from the ears. Turn the hands round, drop the elbows down. Now slide the legs towards each other. Bend the legs like this on a point, ease them out halfway. Flex the feet and go in again. Take the legs all the way to the floor. Your hips are still up. Your bottom rib is still up from the floor. Take the legs out wide. Slide your hands down over your bottom and turn your hands round. Extend through the crown of the head. Turn the head to the other side. Bring the arms up, the elbows down, and rest the head down. Can you see all the time I'm lifting that rib, I'm lifting the hips, my bum's tight the whole way through. Bringing the legs towards each other again. If you're flexible in your quadriceps, which are the front of the thigh now, if you're flexible there, you can bring your legs all the way together and bend and bend. Take the legs out, take them wide, slide your hands down over your bottom. Turn the hands round and extend through the crown of the head. Turn the head to the other side, the arms go up, the elbows go down. Bring the legs in. Now have a look at my bottom and you will see that my bottom is staying still. If your bottom is doing something like this, you need to take your legs apart. If your bottom bounces up and down from the floor as you're doing your leg movement, it means that your quadriceps are too tight. So your bottom shouldn't be lifting from the floor. Your hips should be up, your pubic bone should be down. Now we've had a few goes through that, I'm going to add in the lateral breathing. Some of my clients aren't able to have their hands in this position. So what they do as an alternative is they have their hands here. And then just from that point, stretch downwards and back up again. Make your next one your last one, and then roll onto your side, taking your cushion with you. Guys, if you've got any troubles with your shoulder or maybe around your arm, you might not like laying on your side. So if you don't do it. If you are able to do it, but you can't get your arm up straight, I want you to bend your arm at a right angle like this and have a thicker cushion to put underneath you. You've got to make up from the shoulder to here so that your head is symmetrical with the rest of your body, so your spine is completely parallel to the floor. If I don't use a big enough pillow, my head drops to the side and now my neck is out of neutral spine. Because my shoulders are okay, I'm going to take my arm all the way up. I draw my shoulder blade down. The soles of my feet are in line with the spine. And from there, I'm going to turn the leg out, extend, flex, and ease it back. I'm using my pelvic floor as I go. Big toe to big toe, knee to knee, and going again. Turning out, reaching out, flexing the foot and easing it slightly backwards. Now, in all honesty, I'm really not going back very far at all. So whilst you keep going, I'm going to turn around to the side and show you. As I move my leg back, this is as far as I can go. If I go any further, can you see how my spine will buckle out of neutral spine? Neutral alignment is the most important thing to achieve in Pilates. Instead of thinking about what we're moving and prioritising that, we prioritise what we're keeping still. And then we only move as far as we can without disrupting that really good posture that we've got. All the time we're trying to strengthen around that posture. My ribs are up from the floor, and that again is about holding neutral alignment. Keep looking at my clock there. I've got you on timer, folks. This little finger, imagine it's not happy being a short one. It's trying to make itself longer. It's trying to reach down towards your ankle. Nearly there. Okie dokie. And now we're going to take the leg here, extend it, and bend the leg, and come for a quad stretch, quadricep stretch. And we're holding that for a minute. The knee shouldn't be too high. It shouldn't be too low. The thigh bone should be parallel to the floor. You're squeezing your bottom and easing your pubic bone forwards, trying to increase the stretch. And still your rib cage is up from the floor. If your elbow is bent, bring your hand down a little bit more. Or up your leg if you like. Nearly there. Keep squeezing your bottom. And release it. Rolling onto your tummy. And go back into that double leg kick again. I thought I'd give you a different view. As you come into this position, you're aiming to get more space between each vertebra. Now rolling onto the other side. Bringing the heels in line with your spine once more. Lifting the ribs up. Here we go. Turn the leg out. Extend it. Flex it and ease it backwards. Big toe to big toe. Knee to knee. Turn it out. Extend, flex and ease it back. Perhaps you can go a wee bit slower. And as you go slower, perhaps you can concentrate further. As you ease the leg backwards, like we said before, it's really not going to go back very far. And you have to push the pubic bone forward. I'm trying to get space between my hip bone and my thigh bone. My bum squeezes like mad. And you'll know from the Principles of Pilates video that your core muscles are always switched on, always held. And so the tummy doesn't expand as you breathe. Instead, you find the ribs flare out to the side. Ribs up, waist firm. Double check this shoulder is down away from your ear. This arm's really relaxed with the palm of the hand facing the ceiling. But this shoulder is always trying to escape this ear. Like this shoulder and this ear have had an argument, trying to get away from each other. Whilst we're still holding that position, I'm just going to show you something else. So you know my ribs are up. Sometimes people can't get their ribs up. And it's because they haven't got their shoulders here in this vertical position. Instead, they've got them in a diagonal. And that's why that happens. So to get the shoulder down, I put my fingers here, press against the floor, and I drag the shoulder downwards. When I try and correct people in class, instead of them bringing the shoulder downwards, they often pull it back as well. And then you've got some sort of rounding going on here. We're nearly there. I always have my hand on the side for side kick. I know that some Pilates teachers have their students putting their hands here. But I always find if they come here, perhaps the shoulder will round, but definitely if the hands here, the hips will want to rotate backwards. You've just done it, guys. So bend your knees up to your chest and then come for your quad stretch. So every Pilates teacher has a slightly different approach, but ultimately we're all aiming for the same thing. Good posture. Because good posture leads to good strong muscle tone. And flexibility where you need flexibility, not ridiculous amounts of flexibility in certain areas that makes the joints unstable, but good amounts of flexibility in the right areas. Once you've got your posture right, it will also have an effect on your nervous system. If you think about it, the central nervous system runs through the spine, each vertebra a little bit like a polo, and the nervous system runs through the middle of that. So if one of those polos are out of alignment, it's going to tweak on that nervous system. And you've got your organs. You can literally be crushing your organs in places if your posture's not right. Your metabolic rate goes up when you're holding good alignment. Release the leg. Use the hands to push you up to sitting. So sitting nice and tall. Take the legs out to the side. If, like me, your hamstrings are still a bit tight, you might get away with sitting on a wedge, or you might need a few yoga blocks, or maybe even sit in a little chair. Okay. If you've got osteoporosis, if you're pregnant, if you've got spondylitis, spondylolisthesis, or hyperflexibility, don't do this exercise. Instead of doing these, you'd be better off spending your time doing pelvic floor exercises, drawing up and releasing. And ladies, if you are pregnant, don't have your legs wide. It's really not a good idea to stretch the inner thigh while you're pregnant. If as you twist, your shoulders are going a little bit strangely, make the twist a little bit smaller. Bend your knees, drop your head down and arch your spine. Let's come into ski slopes. In a ski slope, you're going to tip your pelvis backwards and roll slowly up bit by bit by bit. I like keeping every single rib down on the floor as I do this. I feel that if you pick the ribs up from the floor, it totally changes the shape of the lower back. The way I'm doing the stretch is really good for people that suffer with lordosis. A lordosis is a curvature in the lower back that's like this. And if that's over-exaggerated, that's really bad for the spine. So we're going to tip back the other way, like this. So this is an opposite shaped curve to a lordotic curve. And if I take up my bottom rib, can you see I've gone back into lordosis in that lower back? Some people do actually need to do that shape of curve, but it's very rare that I come across somebody that needs to do that particular exercise. The majority of people that I come across need to just go into this sort of smaller movement. And when I've taught my clients how to do this smaller movement and keep the rib cage downwards, they've actually found that they're activating their core muscles and their abdominal muscles much stronger. Whereas when you go all the way up, you don't need to use those abdominal muscles at all. In fact, to the top bit, if I do it how I don't want you to do it, if I do it like that again, can you see how my abdominals are stretching? You see, they're further apart here than they are if I'm there. Here, they're much closer together. And also my bum's getting a workout. If you feel that each vertebra is moving individually, you can bring the ankles and knees together and have another little go. If they're moving in a clump, that's not good. So if they're moving in a clump, just make sure that your feet and knees are slightly apart as you go. Chin tucked in, everybody. Just like the hamstring stretch, if you find that your chin's poking out all the time and you can't get it in, you're going to need a cushion. Okay. I'm putting my bottom down against the floor. I'm going to grab the wedge for the next exercise. If you haven't got a wedge, do make sure that your lower back is in contact with the floor. It's not digging down hard, it's just a light pressure there. This exercise is a lot harder than it looks, so I'll teach it to you and then I'll show you an alternative. So here it is. Both of my feet are slightly light on the floor, but you can't see any daylight between the foot and the floor. I'll raise up the leg and then I'll place it down again. Once the leg is up, the exercise is easy. It's this first bit when it's really close to the floor. That's the hard bit. So as I feel my thigh bone sinking into my hip socket, I could stay here quite some time. But if I keep the foot just hovering from the floor, oh my gosh, that's starting to get hard. Imagine you're a tree. Yeah, this is your tree trunk here. And I've chopped it in half. Now look down at the circles in the centre of your body. It's the circles in the middle that you want to be feeling this exercise, not the superficial ones, not the ones on the outside. Your back shouldn't feel any discomfort with this exercise at all. The level that I'm showing you now, I find the most challenging. You can also try bringing both legs up, have the knees really close to your chest. I know that's difficult for some of you, so if you can't get the knees in this close, perhaps don't do this option. Keep the pelvic floor switched on, and I'm lowering one leg towards the floor at a time. In this second option, the greater the range of movement, the harder the exercise. I'm going to bring both knees in, and I always put one foot down at a time. You can carry on with level 2 if you want to. I'm going back to level 1 where I find it more challenging. And you can probably hear in my voice how I'm finding it more challenging. When I do find it more challenging, my tummy muscles often ask other muscles to help them, in particular the shoulders. But no, I'm not going to let them use the shoulders. It's not the shoulders' job to pick up my leg. So my shoulders are going to stay relaxed. If your shoulders can't stay relaxed, reach the arms up here. In level 2, the exercise was harder with a greater range of movement. In level 1, it's harder with a smaller range of movement. Some of you might be getting really tight in your hips now. And if you are, this would be a good opportunity to have a little go of more ski slopes. I'm going to roll up, leave my hands over my head, hopefully without knocking into anything, and then roll it downwards, and do it again. Keep your chin tucked in. Whoops. There you go. Bring your knees in towards your chest, rock your body from side to side. Keep the knees tucked in, tuck the chin in and turn the head from side to side. Yeah. Then rolling over and using the hands to push you up to sitting. We're going to stretch the neck just before we finish. So you're tucking the chin in and bringing the head to the side. And stay tucked in. And then tilt the head to the other side. Double leg kick. Just want to go back through it again. So the benefits are turning you from somebody with kyphosis into somebody that has a good neutral alignment. Don't look at the hands on this picture, they're terrible. You shouldn't have hands like that. But the shape of the spine is pretty good on that second picture. It's great for doing after you're gardening, it's great for doing after you've been reading a book or anything that's curved you forward. And also it works a little bit on the quadriceps, making them more flexible and making you more flexible between your hip and your thigh bone. It strengthens your bum, it strengthens your core. I really love it as an exercise and I hope that you're going to do lots and lots of double leg kick. Anyway, thanks for tuning in and I'll film something even better than this for you next time. Thank you. Bye.